intro. Kill the intro. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in to Eliminate the Gray. We're off the record D, where real sports talk live. Each week, I break down the biggest stories in sports, giving you the honest takes fueled by logic, life experience, and time spent in team sports. No hot takes for clicks, just real perspective. I call it how I see it, whether it's breaking down a big game or calling out the media for how they spin a story. If you want sports talk with no agenda, you're in the right place. Good morning, Beast. What's going on? Another day. I see you in here. Shout out to you. Shout out to you. We going back to back. We're going back to back. This has been a different week for me. So changed the podcast schedule, the live streaming schedule last week to a Monday, Wednesday, Sunday format. But I threw a little wrinkle in there. Had to audible and do a live stream on Tuesday, which I think that went pretty well. We're doing like a 45-minute live stream. So Cleveland about to – oh, okay. All right. I read that wrong the first time. Oh, shucks. So I read that wrong the first time, B. So in my mind, I read Cleveland about to blow out Green Bay. That's why I started laughing like that. Okay. All right. Let me get it together. Yes, Cleveland is about to get blown out by Green Bay. They are going to get blown out by Green Bay. And in today's show, I'm going to be able to tell you how Green Bay is going to do it. So I've been breaking down so much film. I've been studying defenses, and I've been looking at tendencies and what is causing teams problems. So this week, we're going to look at some PFF stats. I might get into some all-22. It just depends on how the show is going. I'm going to explain to you what the Ravens defense did so well and how Green Bay will be able to do the exact same thing. So it's going to be a rough week. I'm just letting y'all know it's Wednesday. If you're here, I'm letting you know early so you're not in your feelings at 6 o'clock p.m. on Sunday. I don't want you, being stressed out and pressing and saying, hey, why does the offense look bad? And, it is something that happened in the preseason that I saw. Bro, we have zero chance to win this game. What's up, Jeffrey? I agree. And it's not the reason why you think, though. It's not the reason why you think. So a lot of people want to say the Browns don't have talent. The Browns don't have this. The Browns don't have that. Once you go back and you watch the all-22, I'm going to ask y'all a question. Y'all know I like to ask y'all a question. I want to bring y'all into the show. So let me ask y'all this. Joe Flacco on Sunday, did he look any different than Shedeur Sanders did in the second half against the Rams? Did he look any different? That's the question. He did not look any different than Shedeur Sanders. And it's a reason why. So I think a lot of people, they want to hide behind the fact that, man, we just going up against better teams. So let me rewind this thing back for y'all. In the preseason, after we played the Rams, I was like, dang, why did Shedeur look so bad? So I'm just going to walk y'all through how that day went for me. Joe Flacco's missing wide open receivers. He wasn't going back to his check down. Joe Flacco's accuracy has been an issue. They're doing something. They're doing a similar thing that the LA Rams did that is exposing the type of play calls that the Browns are calling. So it's like when we were watching that Rams game, I'm going to take y'all back to it. I'm watching the game. I'm seeing Joe Flacco in the beginning. I'm watching Dillon, Gabriel in the middle. And when we got to Shedeur, I was like, they're not doing anything to get the defense off balance. I was like, the defense knows exactly what's coming. So that's why they had so many pressures. So if you've been following me, you know it was a point where I broke down the pressures. I said Flacco was pressured, I think, only a few times on his dropbacks. Dillon Gabriel's only pressure a few times on his dropbacks. and Shedeur was pressured the most. And I just asked the question, who do you think did well? Well, PFF stated that Joe Flacco was pressured on 35% of his dropbacks. Let me pull up the stat while I'm breaking this down for y'all. So Joe Flacco was pressured on 35% of his dropbacks. And that is what's going to mess you up. I thought we should keep Jameis Winston. Him and Judy has some kind of connection. I was over Jameis Winston very early because the turnovers. I mean, what does it matter if we score 30 if we're giving up 50? The 30 points only makes you feel better watching the game. But if we're still going to end up in the losing column, I don't want moral victories. I don't want things that mask how bad a situation is. The situation has to be exposed for how bad it is for people to say, you know what, we need this change. This has to be changed. So while we're going through this, they have PFF. They have. I was looking into some stuff last night on PFF, and they break down why every team lost, and they give their reasons for why every team lost. And of course, you know, PFF is doing their stuff based on a lot of different things. Actually, I have it on the PFF app because I was looking at it on my phone. So let me pull it up, and I'm just going to read it to y'all because I don't want to misquote the stats as I read them last night. So let me go to the article, and we're really going to break this thing down, how and why I'm calling for the things that I'm calling for. Let me make sure I'm on the screen right. Make sure I ain't too low. There we go. Let's get to the Browns here. And it's weird. PFF, it's really easy to look up player stats on the web, but looking at articles is so much better to look at it on the app. All right, so I'm gonna read this to y'all. So, why the Browns lost? The Browns offense did stockpile yards, but things broke down when the Ravens pass rush got after Joe Flacco. Flacco was pressured on 35.4% of his dropbacks, completed just 3 of 15 pass attempts for 30 yards, a touchdown, and an interception, averaging just 2.0 yards per attempt and earning a 22 overall PFF grade when pressured. Flacco also had 3 turnover-worthy plays when pressured, and he was sacked twice. So that is PFF's breakdown. So Joe Flacco could not handle the pressure. Now, let's rewind this thing back to the Ravens. A lot of people were telling me I was caping for Shedeur because I was saying Kevin Stefanski could not make the proper adjustments to deal with cover one. So once I was telling people, I'm like, man, the Rams. So I was about to say it earlier, but when that Rams game happened, I was on the live stream. I watched that game later on that night, and I'm like, how is it this bad? I was trying to figure it out. So I rewatched the TV copy. Then I watched the All 22. When I watched All 22, I'm like, oh my goodness, they're just sitting in cover one, and they're masking cover one, and they're starting with a two high safeties. So people might think zone or they think cover two man. Then as soon as the ball is snapped, they're switching to cover one. I agree with that. Joe Flacco was never good against pressure. So they were switching to cover one. And what the Rams did was the Rams, instead of using the linebacker to get out to the check down and running back, they were using the safety because he's faster and he can close that speed gap. So if you notice, when Shedeur did finally get to the check down, the guy was getting hit right away, or a guy was on top of the running back right away. So I thought that was telling. I was like, hey, Kevin Stefanski can't beat cover one. His play calls can't beat cover one. Everybody said I was caping for Shedeur. Bring that thing forward. Let's go back to Sunday's game. In Sunday's game, Baltimore primarily runs cover one and cover three. Now, cover one clouds the middle of the field. Now, if you were with me last week on last Wednesday's show when I was breaking down where Joe Flacco had the most success, Joe Flacco had the most success going to the middle of the field. You're saying, man, why are you telling all this? What does all this matter? So if you have the most success in between the numbers and they go to cover one. Cover one means we're protecting the middle of the field. We're also playing man, and we're going to push all the cornerbacks are going to push guys inside. We're going to lead guys inside because the two zone spots in cover one are in the middle. So if you have a linebacker or a safety covering that mid zone in the middle, that adds a defender there. You also have up top, you have the safety in the middle of the field. So they just say, you know what? He can't make the outside throw. We're going to take away the entire middle of the field. So that's why Joe Flacco looked slow. That's why Joe Flacco looked like he didn't know where to go with the ball. They kept Joe Flacco off balance and confused. They kept him so off balance. Then, later on in the game, they started showing cover one and going cover six, cover three. So if you know, when you finally get to cover one beaters, that's going to be mesh routes. That's going to be routes where you're going across the field and you have guys chasing guys to stay with them in man coverage because they're giving up the inside. They're stopping the outside. So you need speed to run away from the defenders across the middle. When Kevin Stefanski finally started calling cover one beater plays, you know what they were in? They were in cover three. So all he was doing was sending the routes into zones, and then they just picked up the man as they came through the zone. So then you end up with no success on offense. So when you go back and watch that all 22, I was like, Joe Flacco does not know where to go with the ball. They're not calling routes to beat cover one when they're in cover one. So it was a combination. This is the problem, though. To beat cover one, you have to run verticals and trust guys on one-on-one situations. Joe Flacco did that one time when he threw it up the left side to Jerry Jeudy. The check down, now everybody, that's why it's a little bit deeper than just saying go to the check down. Good morning, Ms. Brown. How are you? That's why it's a little bit deeper than just going to the check down. Because in a lot of cases, the check down looks open initially. But by the time you go through your first read, your second read, and you go to the check down, the safety is already crashing down on that check down. Do you remember when Cedric Tillman got blown up in the backfield? Do you remember when Quinshon Judkins got hit really hard on the check down? So the check down is not always the answer, because the check down is not doing anything it's not putting any defender in conflict. So really what they should have been doing is running guys across the middle and making the person who was covering the check down go through traffic to get through the guy in the flat, but not just running him to the flats. They should have ran some rail routes. They should have ran some wheel routes. So you're making that guy cover more ground. So then you can kind of get guys off balance where, like, man, he might be open up the sideline. So it's way more to it. That's why it's more, once you really understand what the defenses are taking away, a lot of this is on the style of plays they're calling. That is the issue. Joe Flacco can't read it. He was confused. But then he wasn't given the answers with the style of play calls. So that was my very long-winded opening. As I started to see these things, I was like, man, this is crazy. It's nothing they can do. It's not really anything there. Beast, time for the rookies to come in at this point. I agree. There's no reason moving forward with Joe Flacco because what will happen is they're giving Joe Flacco so many options. If you listen to the TV copy of the game, you hear Joe Flacco putting his arms out. He's saying, can. Do you know what he's canning? He's canning the first play that they call, moving to the second play. Honestly, Kevin just needs play calling. Dorsey's offense looked better last year. I think Dorsey's passing offense is a lot better than Kevin Stefanski's passing offense. It's a lot better because you actually have answers to what they're doing. So let's not use the quarterbacks. Let's look at how Buffalo was able to torch how Buffalo was able to torch Baltimore's defense. They were able to do that because in real time they called plays that were beating what Baltimore was doing. Because every defense is giving you something, but the Browns, they don't get to anything that can beat the defense until the third or fourth quarter. And another thing to what B said about time to play the rookies, it is time to play the rookies because they're going to simplify the offense. The rookies are not going to be up there trying to determine everything pre-snap and cannon plays. They're just going to be running what they're telling them to run. So then it's less confusion, less opportunity for mistakes. So it's just the rookies, they would have to simplify the offense, which would actually help. When you have an offensive line that can't get to the double team. Offensive line is blocking the same guy that the back is picking up in the backfield and letting guys run free. Joe Flacco got blitz. He got corner blitz 3 times that he couldn't identify. And I was calling out during the game. I said, he can't see the corner blitz. It's coming. It's obvious. He can't see the corner blitz is coming. So they would simplify things a lot if they went to the rookies. So that was a very long way of me just breaking down some things that I'm seeing. And those are some of the reasons why I think the Browns are really going to struggle on offense. And a lot of it is, so I just did a Google search. I'm like, man, do I need to really watch all the film from Green Bay and see what they're doing? I did a Google search. I said, what defense does Green Bay primarily run? Y'all know what that defense is? Cover 1 and cover 3. I said, oh, no. Oh, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad. Man, Mary Kay. Did you see Mary Kay say she would rather see Bailey Zappi over Shedeur? At this point, now that Mary Kay is repeating things that I said 3 months ago, I can't even use clips of Mary Kay because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I know she's not an analyst. I know she's not breaking down the game. So with her, she was on UCSS the other day saying, you know what? The quarterback competition didn't help. You think? now that you see how it put a monkey wrench in everything, now you're saying it didn't help. You didn't realize this months ago? So that shows you the analysis is not there. Mary Kay, if I just want to make a video or a clip for TikTok, I might talk about Mary Kay, put it on TikTok, just put it out there. But Mary Kay analysis ain't there. So Jeffrey, what Joe Flacco take beating against the Packers, then put a rookie in there because the Vikings look bad so far. So let me do something for y'all. Let me do something. This is going based on what you just said, Jeffrey. Let's get this thumbnail down and so for a long time, I said, I'm going to be the one that's going to pull the receipts. I'm going to pull the receipts. Now, everybody in the offseason was saying J.J. McCarthy would have went number 1 overall in this draft. We see J.J. McCarthy is already injured again, which plays a part in if you're available or not. He's injured. He's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. He also was sacked 6 times versus Atlanta. He couldn't see what the defense was doing to him, was bottled up. The Vikings defense is going to confuse people. Them trying to find a soft landing for Dillon Gabriel shows me they don't believe in Dillon Gabriel. Beast, you right there with me. Put Dillon Gabriel in. They say he a supercomputer. Yeah, he's the i8. He's the fastest one you can get. You know what I'm saying? He's the chip that Apple makes in-house and start putting it in their computers for faster processing speed. I never believed in J.J. McCarthy either. A lot of people were disingenuous when they spoke on him. In college, he was not allowed to throw the ball. And I did this in the offseason. I went through, and I'm like, he rarely had over 22 attempts in college. So, and college is all about winning. It's a different game than NFL. If they don't believe you can throw the ball to help them win, then how you gonna come to the NFL and be expected to throw the ball 30 times? So it doesn't make sense. It's no soft landing spot. The problem is, I'm going to tell you the problem that we're going to run into. This is the problem. We're going to run into after this Sunday, it's going to be Joe Flacco is going to look just as bad or if not worse against Green Bay based on the style of defenses they play and the pass rushers that they have and him not being good under pressure. it's going to be so hard for Kevin Stefanski to get up there and say Joe Flacco gives us the best chance to win and we got to keep him in. Jeffrey, you've been paying attention. JJ McCarthy went 2 or 3 weeks without throwing a touchdown pass. He did. They ran the ball so much in college at Michigan. So it's one of those things where the dark secrets come to the light. They come to the light quick. That was a very, very long open. Let's get to, let me get something up on the screen for y'all. Let's get to something. So this is a continuation. Beast, you asked me a very direct question. You asked me, do I believe if any of these college QBs are better than Shedeur Sanders? That's what you asked me yesterday during my live stream. It was a great question. And I hope you remember my answer. I said 3 weeks in, no. Now, I'm going to show y'all somebody. Before I get to, I'm going to explain who Emory Hunt is first. Let's get Emory Hunt up here. So a lot of times when they speak on, oh man, these guys are paid to break down the college game. They're paid to break down the college tape and all those things. Emory Hunt is one of those people. He's been covering college football since 2010. He has, he sells. Yeah, I agree, Jeffrey. It doesn't look like they're better than Shedeur. He sells, I forget what he calls it, like an outline almost of 1,700 players in college that he breaks down their film and gives you breakdown of their strengths and weaknesses, gives potential draft grades on them and everything. So he actually gets paid to do this. Let me make I keep being low on my camera. Let me fix that. Okay. So he actually gets paid to do this. That's too high. This is Emory Hunt. So for people that don't know Emory Hunt, this is what he gets paid to do. Now let's get to what he actually said. This leads into Beast's question, which was a great question. Let's take you down. Let's go here. All right. Ross Tucker, Emory Hunt, what y'all got to say?
I'm not worried about the deal with the top quarterbacks in college football right now. Yeah. You know, I mean, Arch Manning was not good at all against UTEP. You know, we mentioned Lagway. I didn't think Nussmeier looked that good. He had a terrible pick.
Let me pause them real quick. Okay, Beast. I said DJ Lagway was Beast's guy. And Beast was like, nah, that ain't my guy. Don't put that on me. So I owe Beast an apology. Beast, DJ Lagway is not your guy. BJ Lagway is Jeffrey's guy. So Jeffrey, your guy looking rough. Your guy's looking rough. So I appreciate you being here and I appreciate you clearing that up because I was trying to put DJ Lagway on Beast and Beast was having no parts of it. So Beast, that's on me. My fault. I'm going to go ahead and take the L for that. Jeffrey, you gotta look bad. you gotta look bad this weekend. Let's get back to Ross and Emory.
In that game, Cade Klubnik has gotten off to a bad start. You know, Penn State's beaten up on 3 bad teams and they're winning, but Drew Aller hasn't really looked that great. You know, this was supposed to be a great quarterback class, a much better quarterback class than this past quarterback class. And here we are now where I don't know who's the guy that's going to be number one. Who's the guy that's looking the best right now?
A lot to unpack right there, Ross, and I'll try to do it quickly. When you think about that statement of, oh, next year's class is better, it's never better. They just don't like this class for whatever reason, right? Shedeur and Cam Ward are far and above better than whoever the top quarterback would be in this class. So that's that question. The second part of it is that you can see how groupthink permeates throughout the rest of the narrative in the media landscape because you have people that get hung on these names, right? Nussmeier, Aller, you talk about Klubnik, and you talk about,
Arch Manning.
Arch Manning, right? Arch Manning was number 1 with a bullet in everybody's mock draft, right? Based on 95 passes. And so but that kind of focused everybody's attention on just those names. And everybody's just kind of recycling the same 5 names. If everybody just zoomed out and did what they were supposed to do and just evaluated the whole class, you'd see the Taylor Green. You'd see the Haynes King. And that's why I threw the comp out there the other day about Bo Nix and how he plays, How could you watch Bo Nix and how he plays and not see the same thing for Haynes King and how he plays? They're the same guy. They're playing the same doggone game. So Haynes King can translate to the next level. Taylor Green, 6'6", 225, second year with Bobby Petrino's offense. And we've seen the productivity with every other quarterback that has entered his second season in that offense with Bobby Petrino has done a great job. Haynes King is off to a phenomenal start and looks calm, composed, and is playing above the X's and O's and is doing a lot of it from the pocket like people want to see him do. So if you're doing the justice by the job, you evaluate everybody and don't come out with these takes, because now they're saying, oh, well, this class may not have, maybe we should pump the brakes on this class being generational. Or you can just talk about the two guys as really standing out in Taylor Green and Haynes King.
I like the way he wrapped that up. Instead of trying to force the narrative on guys who aren't good, talk about who's actually doing well. So my bot got you, Jeffrey, but that's okay. I'm going to get your message here. Maybe it's a better idea to get a quarterback that failed on one team. I'm bringing them in. Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones look good. If you have to go to the retread quarterback, Jeffrey, how long you followed / been a Browns fan? If you got to go the retread quarterback route, what that tells me is you cannot identify quarterback talent. That's what that tells me. You can't identify quarterback talent. And that's also means you're scared to make a mistake, because you want to look at somebody who somebody else evaluated highly, and then you want to say, okay, well, we believed in whatever they saw, even though it hasn't translated in the NFL. So I don't want to go that route. I've been a Browns fan my whole life. We have done the retread quarterback thing. All right, since Johnny Manziel, got you. We have done the retread thing for so long in Cleveland. We done it with, just go down the list. We brought in, let's go backwards. So the ones we can remember. Jameis Winston, that would be a retread. Case Keenum, Brian Hoyer, just basically everybody who we didn't draft was a retread. Who was it? Jeff Garcia back in the day, RG3 back in the day. We always doing the retread thing. The retread thing doesn't get you anywhere. Miss Wade, wow, this is amazing. Thank you for even thinking to comparing the PFF grades of Flacco and Sanders. Thank you for that. Because it's a bigger cause for the problem. The issues are more than just the quarterback. If you don't give the quarterback answers to the questions that the defense is asking you, you can't succeed. So everybody wanted to see Shedeur fail, so they latched on him failing. And I kept asking people, okay, so what is Shedeur supposed to do in these situations? And you know what people said to me? Throw the ball faster. Okay. Now, I think I might pull up a couple of plays depending on how the stream goes from the all 22, and then we're going to see where can you go with the ball. And I might even go back and show y'all, well, everybody's seen the Shedeur stuff, but it was very similar. It's nowhere to go with the ball. So that's why it came to my memory like these are the same struggles. So Kevin Stefanski is a stake. Kevin Stefanski is to fans, and fans rightfully called this out immediately who were not fans of the Brown previously. They were like, Kevin Stefanski is lying. And they called that out rightfully, because if you look at Kevin Stefanski when he's at a press conference, he's never telling you the truth. He's just telling you a word salad. So I think new fans were right for calling that out. Even Mac Jones had 3 touchdown passes. Correct. Mac Jones, Jeffrey, he's a retread, but look who the retreads have success under. They don't have Mac Jones was in Jacksonville. He didn't have success when Trevor Lawrence was hurt. He had to go to Kyle Shanahan to have success. Look at I think his name is Kevin McConnell. I hope I'm saying his name right. The coach in Minnesota. Look what he did for Sam Darnold. So these other people are really good at coaching quarterbacks. I wouldn't put. Would you put Kevin Stefanski on the same level as a Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, who can do some stuff with some retreads? Would you put him on the level of any of these people? Look at Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh. Everybody loves Mike Tomlin. Did Aaron Rodgers look good? So you got to start asking yourself these questions. I was looking up a stat that once a guy's been in the league for around 10, I think it was 10 years. It could have been 8 years, but once a guy been in the league 8 years and they played on one team and they go to another team, they rarely lead a guy to another team to success. Only 3 times this happened. So retread is not the way to go. All right, let me get to some of these comments. Ravens 76 B more. I will say this Brown defense is something serious. You guys just need a good QB respectfully. Ravens B more, you are correct. Miss Wade, if the coach is making stupid basic plays, it doesn't matter who the QB is. Mrs. Wade, you're correct again. Jeffrey, did you see the Tom Brady interview on how to develop a quarterback? Yes, I did. So Tom Brady believes you have to grade the person coaching the quarterback. Now, how can you, because it's easy to blame the quarterback, but if you don't give the quarterback the answers to the test, in that interview, Tom Brady said something. What happened? Tom Brady's quarterback coach died suddenly of a heart attack. Bill Belichick would come into the QB room and he would teach them defenses and show them what the defense was trying to take away with each defense they were in. So he was giving them the answers to the test. That's how Tom Brady developed. He has the answers to the test. And Mrs. Wade, yes, that was a great interview. It's insight. So people only want to quote these people when they're saying what they believe. If you notice, nobody in NFL talked about that interview afterwards. You know why? Because then you put a target on all the people who aren't developing people's back. Yeah, because he did it in Minnesota, Kirk Cousins, Case Keenum, Jacoby Brissett. This is the thing. How long ago was Minnesota for Kevin Stefanski? That was a long time ago. We had Jacoby Brissett. We had Case Keenum. Case Keenum, they wouldn't play him the year Baker tore up his shoulder. He was the highest paid backup quarterback at that time. And they wouldn't play him. That was in 2021. They wouldn't play him. Jacoby Brissett was in Cleveland. He started the year really well, and then he fell off a cliff. So it wasn't sustained. None of the retreads that the Browns bring in get to Sam Darnold level of success, get to Geno Smith level of success that he had going from the Jets and then finally settling in Seattle. They don't get to that level of success in Cleveland. So we can say they sound good. Okay. Touche. So I'll agree with you. I'll get that to you. He did it. It was a long time ago. What's the problem? What's the problem with that? The problem is in the NFL, what have you done for me lately? Everybody calls Kevin Stefanski the 2-time coach of the year. What have you done for me lately? What's Kevin Stefanski's record last year and this year? He is 3-16 in his last 19 games? What have you done for me lately? That's what the NFL is. What do they say about the NFL about players? They say not for long. But you know what? Who else that applies to? The coaches. Kevin Stefanski hasn't scored, or he averages 13 points over his last 8 games that they lost in a row going back into last year. This is not the point where you stand on the soapbox for Kevin Stefanski. And another reason why. So, Jeffrey, I can remember if you were here on Monday. So Monday's episode, I was breaking down the loser mentality of people saying they don't want to blow the whole thing up. The problem is Kevin Stefanski has been dodging, taking hits like the Matrix. We have turned over the entire coaching staff twice. The lone scapegoat the lone person is Kevin Stefanski. So how can we then give him a pass? Kevin Stefanski's came out and said He is the one who hires his assistant coaches. So when you fire all your assistant coaches twice and then you hire new ones and you still have the same problems, what do? Fire the entire staff again and keep Kevin Stefanski longer? That's why I went into it so deep before we really start getting to these things, because Kevin Stefanski is not giving people the answers to the test. He's the offensive play caller. He adds this additional responsibility on himself, and he is not giving his guys the answers to the test so they can succeed. I don't want Andrew Berry. All right, let me go Miss Wade first, then I'm going to go Jeffrey. All right, this just proves that Stefanski is a horrible coach. He has been a coach for 6 years. He can't figure out routes and better plays. You're on to something, Miss Wade. The issue is Kevin Stefanski's offense is based on the West Coast system. Everybody knows what the West Coast system is. The people who are still successful, where the core of their offense is West Coast, they have added so many new wrinkles to the West Coast offense that's why they have success. All the coaches who people say are good offensively, I would say minus Andy Reid, they run a variation of the West Coast offense. But they add in more motion. They add in Sean McVay. He runs the West Coast offense. All of his plays look the same. Kyle Shanahan, West Coast offense. It doesn't matter who Kyle Shanahan puts in a quarterback. He gets something from them. Look at all the quarterbacks that they've had. He gets something from every quarterback that they put in San Francisco. Now, Jeffrey, oh no, I agree. Kevin's going to go, but we can keep Andrew Berry after the draft he had. Okay. I didn't think the show was going to go this route, but it's going this route, and we're going to roll with it. You know what I'm saying? You got to be flexible. So, I got to ask you some questions. I got to ask you some tough questions, Jeffrey. This is just me and you. Me and you. We're having a conversation in front of a couple friends. What players are currently on the roster that have been here more than 2 games that Andrew Berry has drafted that have a future with the Cleveland Browns? What number draft is this for Andrew Berry? These are the tough questions. These are nice guys. Andrew Berry seems like a nice guy. Nice doesn't matter when it's a performance-based thing. Now we really got to think. If Andrew Berry's responsibility is to acquire talent, the best teams acquire talent through the draft year over year, who has he drafted that is on the roster that's played more than 2 games this year that you say, that's somebody we keep? So now we're going to go. Greg Newsome is having a good start to his year. Before Martin Emerson got injured, Greg Newsome was in trade talks. He said he wanted out, and he was basically on the trade block. That's a first-round pick. I'm going to give you Greg Newsome. Martin Emerson had a very good rookie season. Martin Emerson was really shaky last year, and he's injured this year. So I would give Martin Emerson incomplete because he's coming off of Achilles. Cedric Tillman is a small tight end. He's a small tight end. That's what he is. If once you go back and you watch all the film, Cedric Tillman is good for, blocking off the edge. I'm trying to be diplomatic. I'm trying not to do what a lot of people do. I'm trying to be careful with my words to not be disrespectful. I'll just say Cedric Tillman is a small tight end. That's what I'm going to say about him. I don't believe Cedric Tillman would see the field for 20 teams in this league. 20 teams in this league, Cedric Tillman will not be on the field. I think he'll stay. That doesn't mean I think he'll be a difference maker. Cedric Tillman. Now let's go back. It's unfortunate we got to do this to him. Cedric Tillman did not know how to run routes when he came into the league. The offense he came out of in Tennessee, they would just put two guys at the wide side of the field. They would go make a play. He spoke on that. He's talked about how he had to adjust to learn the NFL game. This is year 3 for him. We're 3 years in. He's been injured quite often. He doesn't have speed, and he can't get separation. A number 3 receiver, the number one thing that they usually need is speed to put pressure on the defense. So what team would make him a number 3? Because remember, where does the number 3 receiver go? The number 3 receiver goes in the slot. That's the conundrum with Cedric Tillman. The number 3 receiver usually plays in the slot. Cedric Tillman doesn't have the quickness or the speed to play in the slot. Cedric Tillman is a 4 or a 5 just because his skill set. But even if I said, Jeffrey, we're going to keep all 3 of those guys, that's what we'll keep moving forward. You got to ask yourself I got to ask you another tough question. Who had better drafts? John Dorsey, the previous general manager, or Andrew Berry? Because we're going to really drive this point home. All right, let's say all 3 of those guys. This is Andrew Berry's 5th draft. In 5 drafts, you're telling me one cornerback who's a starter, who's a first-round pick. Isaiah McGuire looks better. If you want to talk about guys, I would say Greg Newsome, then Isaiah McGuire above Martin Emerson and Cedric Tillman. You got me there. Isaiah McGuire, I'm keeping him. You got me there. But now let's go to the overall. The overall, who drafted better? Dorsey? Actually, who drafted better? Who put together a better team? Dorsey or Andrew Berry? These are the questions and the answers. When we want to keep guys and we want to say they can stay, and we say, oh man, this is the first draft Andrew Berry is going to have success. We don't really know because these guys played 2 games. So it's not fair to put his job on these 2 games. Now let's look at. Now we know who drafted better between the 2. We know who drafted better. It's simple. Now let's look at this. Look at all the top guys on the Browns roster. Look at all the top people on the Browns roster. How far down the list do you have to go before you find a person that Andrew Berry drafted versus guys Dorsey drafted? All of our key players in all of the success that the Browns have had with Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski were picked by John Dorsey. And some of them is not even fair. If you go with Myles Garrett, that's easy. Denzel Ward, that's easy. David Njoku, that's easy. We haven't had a running back that's been better than Nick Chubb. That's easy. If you look at, he didn't draft Batonio. I'm sorry. He didn't draft Batonio. He didn't draft Wyatt Teller. He traded for him and got him on a cheap. That was a better move, but we just talking about draft. What position can you say maybe JOK, but JOK is out? He drafted probably the best middle linebacker with JOK, Andrew Berry did. But you got to go far before you get to guys and you say Andrew Berry identified this talent and kept him. And then on the flip side, how far can I go with failures that Andrew Berry has had with him taking chances? We still don't have the kicker situation settled. That's on Andrew Berry. We still don't have the punt return situation settled. That's on Andrew Berry. Every year we're signing a veteran to return kicks and punts. They get injured every year. That's on Andrew Berry. Wide receiver. How many wide receivers has Andrew Berry drafted? How many of them still make a difference in the NFL at all? We got to keep going down the list. Offensive line. Andrew Berry has been horrendous at drafting offensive linemen. And then he keeps moving guys out of positions where they had success. Jedrick Wills was a top 10 pick. He was a right tackle. They moved him to left tackle. It never worked. They moved him out of position. DeJuan Jones, we drafted him as a right tackle. He played right tackle, but we already had a right tackle. And to clean up the mess that he made at left tackle, now we moved DeJuan Jones to left tackle. And DeJuan Jones is bad at left tackle. We got him learning a new position while in the NFL. And these are the cleanup mistakes that Andrew Berry's made. It can't go on. We can't do this. We can't keep doing it. The guy got to go. You got to wipe this thing clean. Who picks the scout team? If Andrew Berry is the one who ultimately makes the pick and he picks the guys up under him, that's on him. If you hire guys and they don't do well, it's on the guy that hired them. So that's why it's a clean sweep that got to happen. It's not just one guy. And then if you want to go overall record, if you want to go how these last 2 seasons look, you can hold on to these guys, but what's your pathway to success? Can't see it. So that was great. Just wanted to dig into that a little bit deeper with the Andrew Berry situation. Those are some great questions by you, Jeffrey. So I went on that long soliloquy for the Open. I was talking about this year. That's why draft was so good. We got somebody new on the scout team. Okay, got you. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, this year's draft is looking good, but the issue with that is look who Dorsey had just drafted when he got let go. Dorsey got let go because he wanted Freddie Kitchens as a head coach. It had nothing to do with what he did with drafting guys and all that stuff. He built a solid team, and they let him go because of he just did not pick the right head coach. So if that was a reason, you put together a great team, pick the wrong head coach, you get fired, how can we defend the guy who was with the head coach in, they're been here the same amount of time basically, and we're not putting together a good team? You would naturally have to get rid of them. So I went on that long thing at the Open, breaking down what the Browns' offensive struggles are. Let's hear from somebody else. This is Nathan Segura. There's going to be people to get access to more stats than we can actually get access to, and he's going to break down something. But listen to this right here.
When Joe Flacco was here last time, he averaged nearly 8 yards in the air per attempt. This year, it's down around 4. Our ability to hit vertical shots with Joe Flacco was excellent last time around. This year, it is not happening at all. And teams are playing 2 coverages against us predominantly, Huff. Cover 1, which means your guys got to win. You got to create separation. And they're playing cover 6, which is that 2 high that's designed in many ways to eliminate verticals. It's cover 2 on one side, cover 4 on the other side. We're seeing those coverages at one of the top rates in the NFL across the board. What is going on here, Huff? Why can this offense not get anything going down the field?
Well, if you remember, the conversation that we had at the beginning of the season was, all right,
So I just wanted y'all to hear the point of the defenses that they're running. So to beat cover 1, you got to be willing to take those one-on-one chances up the sideline. And for whatever reason, we rarely call those plays. And watching the all-22 back, it's times where Jerry Jeudy is isolated one-on-one and they're leaning the coverage to the other side of the field, and we're not just telling Jerry Jeudy, go make a play. Go make a play. We're not doing it. And that's what you got to do with the number 1. That's what Jameis Winston was doing. He was force-feeding Jerry Jeudy the ball when they saw certain coverages. Flacco is not willing to do that, and that is part of the reason they're struggling so much on offense. Because when you got a guy, you're paying him like a number 1 receiver, and he could beat guys one-on-one, and you're not giving him an opportunity. That's on the operation. That's on the way that they view it. I've been critical of Kevin Stefanski's in-game adjustments. It takes him too long to get to the adjustments. So everybody is seeing these issues. It's not just me seeing the issues. If it was me, if I was the only one where I'm saying, hey, this is where they're struggling, then you would say, you know what, that's just him. They're going to fix it. But when you go across the board and you everywhere you look, when they are really closer to the Browns, they are trying to figure out why it's so bad. And the reason why it's so bad is because they are not countering or making the defense counter and change what they're doing. So we're going to jumpstart this just a little bit. Let's get to the next one. This is going to be...
He's also part of the Tailgate Show with JP every...
This is going to be Lance Reisland. He's going to also explain some issues that we're having that I said in the preseason. This is an issue, and it's another issue that we've had the entire time Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry have been here.
Every Sunday. Coach, welcome back to the show.
Gentlemen, how are we tonight?
Well, we're doing pretty well here. I just feel bad because the first question's going to have to be about an outright ass whooping on Sunday, but I push on because I'm a brave man. I'll ask you, you've watched the tape. Was it as bad as it felt on Sunday?
I'm going to say no, and here's why. I've been a part of some
Oh, thank you. Okay. Oh, man. I was going off right there. So thank you for that, Beast. Shout out to you. I'm going to disagree with Lance Reisland there. On three levels, it was bad. We know the offense was bad. The defense, we had guys who couldn't maintain their leverage, and that's how the touchdowns were scored. And then on special teams, we had a punt block. So how can you tell me it wasn't as bad as we saw when every level had glaring issues? So I don't agree with him there, but let's keep it going.
Some ass whoopings in my life, both giving them and receiving them as a coach. And sometimes when you physically get dominated, you know it, right? They do whatever they want. That wasn't the case. Mistakes killed them, right? So if you think about the first 10 points that the Ravens scored, they scored on a 24-yard drive and then another 24-yard drive. So this offense, and I'm not giving a pass to the special teams, are absolutely killing this defense. And the only chance they have to win is to make sure that defense is protected. And that means being smart with the football, especially on long yardage situations.
All right, Coach. So
which one is it? So you're saying it wasn't as bad as we thought, but then you go on to say the special teams was bad, put defense in a bad position, and we know the offense was bad. So where is something good? What are you finding that's good? Now, I understand that he probably doesn't just want to come on here and be super negative, but sometimes the only thing you can be is negative because it wasn't that much positive to find. If you said, okay, let's find the positive from this game, it's a very short list. The positives from this game, I would say, are the defensive front seven look really good. They look really good stopping the run. They look really good containing Lamar Jackson, him not getting opportunities to run. For the most part, the coverage wasn't bad except for a few breakdowns from two guys who probably shouldn't have been forced in a position, which that is Cam Mitchell and Miles Harden. Should have been forced in these positions. Then Quinshon Judkins was a bright spot. But Quinshon Judkins is not going to fix all the problems the offensive line has when they can't determine who they're supposed to block on running plays. So can y'all find any other positives from this game? I mean, I can't really. If you want to say at the end versus prevent defense, Dillon Gabriel looked good or looked okay, I would give you that. But it's not a bunch of positives. So what people want to do is they want to, if this wasn't really bad, what are they going to do after this Sunday? So let's go to the next one. We got Joe Hader. So I'm taking y'all to people who covered the game. Now we're going to get to some former players. Jerome Ford looked a lot better in this game than he did in game 1. But for whatever reason, when Jerome Ford is the feature back, I don't know if it takes more of a toll on him, but he just doesn't have the same level of burst. His burst looked better in this game. So he has some good moments. So you can add Jerome Ford to that list. He looked better in this game than he did in game 1. So I'll give you that. Let's get to Joe Hayden on what he thinks.
And then once we started doing just errors, Delpit, shout out Delpit. He prevented 2 touchdowns. He balled out. He did his part. I mean, I had eyes on him just watching him to see how good he played. Very, very, very good to see him ball out. But I don't think our offense did too well. Like, there was just too many checkdowns. We didn't take really any chances down the field. And then when we did, we threw picks. And it just didn't look like our offense had too much going at all. The defense was trying to keep us in the game, but at the end of the day, once that second half came, it just was too much for us.
Oh, no question. Like Myles Garrett said, I guess after the game, he said, I mean, this shit is embarrassing. We got to do better on defense. We got to do better as a team. I mean, I think that's cool that you know, he said that, but you know, it's fought everywhere, and like you said,
Devin Bush has been playing well in both games. I'm gonna pull up the PFF. I think he had one of the highest PFF grades on defense. So you're right there, Jeffrey.
At the end of it, the second half, they gave up a lot of points, I guess. So you know, they got to do.
So I started telling y'all about cover 1. The reason why I told you about cover 1 is because you beat cover 1 with throwing that field. You got to throw that field to beat cover 1. So now we're starting to see that they were doing the checkdowns. They were never attacking cover 1. So we went from people outside the game. Now we got NFL players saying it was bad. So I give you a couple pluses there, but it's not a laundry list of pluses. So let's get to the next one. That's Joe Hayden. This is Speak Easy. Emmanuel Acho seems to have got this YouTube channel from Fox. So if on the replay, if I had to cut this out, it's because I probably got a copyright for showing this clip. But I'm going to show it, but then I'll deal with it on the back end. So if you do watch the replay, that's what happened with this. But here we go. Let's see what Shady McCoy has to say about Joe Flacco.
Conversation about him. Joe Flacco. He looks terrible right now, fellas.
He looks bad.
Yeah, what's the deal with him?
Man? I hate, before you answer, I'm sorry, 1 second. Time out.
Go ahead.
I hate when I come on this show. Because I love the show.
It's not a lot lately.
But why are we talking about Joe like y'all surprised? You surprised he's bad?
I'm not surprised.
He's only been good for like a year or two in his whole career, for real.
Shady, he won a Super Bowl. He won a Super Bowl.
And
put some respect on his name, please.
I'm just being honest. I never thought Joe Flacco was a superstar type quarterback. He had one great postseason.
11 touchdowns, no interceptions en route to winning a Super Bowl.
He had no great years, but he had that postseason. He was like, oh, wow, it's pretty good. But like now, he's never, like, it's Joe Flacco we talking about.
What you want to?
So you got more players talking about Joe Flacco. Let's get to your question, Jeffrey. Does it look like Joe Flacco looks uninspired? He looks like he doesn't want to play anymore. That's not what I see. Joe Flacco was really confused on Sunday, and I believe Joe Flacco is trying to limit his mistakes, so he's not taking chances. In game 1, it was people saying Joe Flacco played good enough to win. Kevin Stefanski's game plan was fine. Y'all saw it. I said Joe Flacco, his accuracy wasn't there. He was throwing everything low. And I think he was throwing everything low to limit the possibility of interceptions. But him trying to always throw everything low was creating some of the issues. And when you know at some point guys are just going to take your position, you are not playing free. You're not playing free. Joe Flacco is not playing free. He is holding on to the ball. He is like, man, I can't force it here. It's times where Joe Flacco would have been threw the ball up, a 50-50 ball, and let a receiver go make a play. He's not doing that. And it's because if he does that one too many times, he knows he's on the bench. And once Joe Flacco hits the bench, he's not coming back off the bench unless we get 4 injured guys. So you artificially put pressure on him. And when you're playing quarterback, you need to be pressure free. So you got the defense putting pressure on you. You got the pressure of not wanting to make a mistake because you're going to lose your job, and you know it's a short leash because they want to play these guys. So it's admirable that he wanted to go in this situation, but the way it's playing out, it's not going good. He didn't get enough time with the guys early in camp. He said it in training camp. He wanted more reps with the guys. They didn't give him the more reps. So these things, you can see all of these things happening. You can see all of this coming to the light. So that's what it is with Flacco. I don't think it's uninspired or not want to play. I don't think it's that. It's just outside pressure that the Cleveland Browns created on their own, and they didn't understand the human element and the impact it was going to have on guys. So look at how frustrated Myles Garrett looked after that loss. When have you seen somebody that frustrated 0-2? Because he knows the writing's on the wall. This is going to be a long year. Let's get to the next one. Sean King. If y'all know, if y'all watch me, I don't always agree with Sean King. Sean King is going to say something here. Something that I said months ago when he's agreeing with Mary Kay. Let's go.
Which I agree. The quarterback competition stunted some growth. Now, when you have Joe Flacco and you give him Pickett the majority of the reps, and then you jettison Pickett off and he ain't on the roster, then the two guys, the young guys, don't get reps or not even throwing the guys. And then you end up with Joe Flacco kind of, playing a little bit the last part of the preseason. And now it looks like, well, the receivers ain't on the same page. Timing is wrong. How much time do you believe it takes for a guy to get ready in the preseason to play football games? And do you think the Browns fumbled the bag on a quarterback competition that was a fake quarterback? It was fake news.
Well, G. Bush, you are officially my spirit animal.
I got to pause it real quick right here. So I can't remember who it was, but somebody asked me about the quarterback competition. And what's going on, Zedric? How are you, man? Do y'all notice how now everybody is saying it wasn't a quarterback competition? Do y'all find that funny? When I was out there and I was on an island by myself, you know what I'm saying? I was Jim Curry with the, not Jim Curry, Jim Carrey. I was Jim Carrey with the soccer ball. I can't remember what he called the soccer ball. I was out there on the island by myself, and I said it wasn't a competition. Now everybody's came to the conclusion, man, that wasn't really a competition. What did I see in real time that led me to believe it wasn't a competition? I said in a competition, it's based on performance. You have to have guys move up or move down based on performance. When nobody moved based on performance, I said it wasn't a competition. Now everybody's saying that. In the locker room, Zedric, or actually let me read this for the podcast people. I wonder what the talk in the locker room is. So I think they're slowly losing confidence in Kevin Stefanski, and they're tired of going through the same thing. Now, Monday's episode, I showed y'all how last year after game 1, it was the same feelings towards after this weekend too. So you got guys in that locker room saying, I seen this play before. I seen this roll out before. This could be another 3-win season. That's what they are saying. That's what they are seeing. That's why Myles Garrett is so frustrated. So to me, the locker room is like, something got to give. The locker room is going to hold up for maybe one more week. After this week, which what I foresee happening based on the style of defense that Green Bay is going to run, they're going to be calling for everybody's head. They're going to be calling for Kevin Stefanski to be out of here. They're not going to say it, but they're going to start taking shots. They're also going to want a quarterback change because they're going to say, look, before we lose this season, let's just give the young guys a shot and see if we can rally around them. So that's what I foresee happening. Before the season, I said, when you give a person assurances that no matter what happens, they're going to be brought back, I agree. Definitely a more player-friendly scheme. You need to let guys get a feel of the game and say, you know what? This is what they're doing. When we see this, I'm just throwing it up to you. Now, We saw Shedeur do that a lot in college. We saw what's the quarterback that Coach Prime started, and he led them on a couple of touchdown drives 2 weeks ago. He saw Sincere Brown on the outside. He said, when they press, is no safety over top, I'm throwing it deep to you. You need guys to have the freedom to be able to do that. And it doesn't look like the Browns offer guys the freedom to draw it up like that, which is weird because when Joe Flacco was here the last time, him and Amari Cooper saw something happening. I can't remember the team. I want to say the team was playing in the dome, but they saw some type of defensive coverage, and they said, we're going to do this. And even Kevin Stefanski said, yeah, they drew that up on the sideline based on what they saw. So Ryan Staub, there you go. Thank you, Beast. So you need to allow them the freedom to do that. And it doesn't seem like they had a freedom in his offense. Thank you. Both of y'all got it right. Yeah, Staub. Staub said, hey, Sincere, when we see this, I'm throwing it up to you. And that's what he did. And it's opportunities like that, but guys got to be confident to say, look, man, scratch that route you was going to run. Just go up the sideline and beat them, and I'm going to get it up to you. So you need that freedom. They got to be able to do it. And it doesn't look like they have the wiggle room. I think they're going to go through the process. I think they're going to let it go to Dillon second. But I think the leash for how long they'll put up with Gabriel not doing well will be short-lived. So I think they're going to be like if Gabriel has 2 games like Flacco had these last 2, they're going to say, get him out of here. We want Shedeur. Because I think the locker room believes in Shedeur. Zedric, my way or the highway, that's where the lack of creativity comes. Man, oh man. Zedric, I'm not sure how long you followed the Browns or been a Browns fan, but that was the root cause of the issues between OBJ, Baker Mayfield, and Kevin Stefanski. I think they can't do any worse than Joe Flacco, the rookies. Let me read this before I just answer it. Shedeur and Dillon isn't going to do well in the offense. We have no weapons. I think they can do as bad as Joe Flacco. One thing I think they can do better is I think they will be able to take advantage of when the defense turns their back. Because remember, the main basis of cover 1 is man-to-man. When defenses turn their back and they're defending, and it's times where it's 3rd and 4, and you can run and easily get that first down, I think they can extend drives like that. Joe Flacco cannot. All right, so you've been following Zedric, you've been following since the draft. Yeah, it's very clear. So just think about that. You've been following since the draft. You already noticed that it's not creative and is no room for flexibility. That was the demise of Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr., and Kevin Stefanski. Because Odell would say, look, you are calling this route. This isn't open. I'm beating it. I'm wide open. And Baker is not throwing on the ball because Baker is going through the progressions that Kevin Stefanski put into play. That's why, remember Odell Beckham's dad liked the video on YouTube of all the times that Odell Beckham was wide open and they wasn't giving him the ball? It was because Odell Beckham had a feel for what defenses were doing and they were just not throwing him the ball. So this is not a new thing. Think about how many years it's been since Odell Beckham was on the Browns. And that was an issue then. It's still an issue now. So you limit yourself. You handcuff yourself. So great stuff right there. Shout out to y'all. That was some great insight. Let's get to Sean King.
Because I was going to actually piggyback on that point that Mary Kay made. Shout out to Mary Kay, one of the best in the business, by the way. She said, and I think I'm quoting her correctly, hopefully Coach Stefanski and the Browns learn that you can't have a 4-person quarterback competition. I'm going to contextually align that with my opinion last week. For those that didn't watch, that aren't on social media, you should be. Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, one of the best shows in the country. I said they should move away from Joe Flacco, not because I think Flacco was not capable on some levels, but because I think the ceiling is so low this season for the Browns. they need to find out what they have in Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. You asked me as a coordinator, the reason I would never have a 4-man competition, if we've only got 12 plays a team in practice, how in the hell do I fairly divide up 12 reps? Thinking that 4 or 5 of them are run plays anyway. Now I don't get a chance to really see what I have. What am I really evaluating? That's what they're doing now. They're not going to win this year because they're not that good. So you might as well get a large sample size of Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, so at the end of the year, you can better evaluate what you have. You might not have what you think is a franchise quarterback, but you might have what you think is a very good safety net as a backup. You might come away thinking, you know what, we got a franchise quarterback. We can look in other directions and how to build a team. But they've got to find out. And you're not going to find out with both of those guys sitting on the sideline for the majority of the season.
So, I don't know if y'all listen to Lil Durk. It's a Lil Durk and Future song where he's saying they want to be just like me. These are things that I said months ago. And I said, you got to get these guys out here. You got to let them know what it is. Let Joe Flacco start. If y'all remember, I said between games 4 and 6, I wanted the rookies to start. Everybody is sounding like that once they see that it's no future in playing Flacco. One thing I will say, a lot of people are owed an apology. Shedeur Sanders fans they was calling them names. They were saying they were delusional. Shedeur Sanders fans said right away, Joe Flacco ain't it. They said it right away. They said it before the preseason. They said it before training camp. They said Joe Flacco ain't it. And everybody said, you're delusional. You don't know what you're talking about. Y'all just think Shedeur. Everybody owes them an apology. Also, early on, Shedeur Sanders fans was like, man, I don't really trust Andrew Berry. I don't really trust Kevin Stefanski. Then we got them talking about Kenny Pickett. We believe in Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett, blah, blah, blah. And then they trade Kenny Pickett. And what they were able to do is, since they're not caught up in the football fans except coaches and GMs lying to your face. And they say, it's part of the game. They don't want to reveal strategy. You don't want to reveal which way we're going. That's what NFL fans do. People who are fans of a player and not fans of the NFL, they're like, man, that dude a liar. You seen Miss Wade in here earlier. She was like, Kevin Stefanski is snake, because they identify this person is not truthful and honest. So it's some apologies that's going to need to go around to people who saw these things early. Somebody need to apologize to them. Zedric, looks like the QB plan is flawed. The QB plan was always flawed. The QB plan was flawed when they took Dillon Gabriel. That's when, in the draft, when they took Dillon Gabriel, the plan was shot. As soon as they took a quarterback after Dillon Gabriel, who everybody said was better than Dillon Gabriel, it blew up this whole plan. It blew it up. It blew it up. Now, I think Kevin Stefanski is holding off, and he don't want to play Dillon Gabriel. So everybody is finally catching up. So it's some people that's owed some apologies. It's some people who they need some respect put on their name, who's seen through this very early. And Zedric, you've been a fan of the Browns following the Browns since the draft. You already are identifying issues that quick. 2 weeks in, you see 2 games and you say, man, it ain't creative. And people are calling to keep these guys. They are saying keep them in place. It makes no sense. Insane. So now I saved this one for last. Save the best for last. This is Tyvis Powell.
Look at that. Oh, I'm glad.
This is Tyvis Powell. I'm going to skip this forward a little bit. Tyvis Powell is about to go straight, hit him up. He going Tupac. He going to hit him up on this. He is not being nice. The Cleveland Browns are the only ones that thought Dillon Gabriel was a 3rd-round pick. Beast, you are correct. Nobody had him slotted as a 3rd-round pick. Everybody had him slotted as a backup. Do y'all remember people would argue because you weren't a fan of Dillon Gabriel and you didn't think he was a franchise quarterback? Do y'all remember people would argue with people and say, but he's on the team, so you should root for him? So Should I root for Cam Mitchell after Cam Mitchell missed assignments and he couldn't maintain outside leverage when he had inside help? Should I root for Cam Mitchell since he's on the team? Should I root for Joe Flacco since he's on the team even though he's not playing good? It was always delusion. They wanted you to root for everybody but Shedeur. Everybody but Shedeur. I always said, I didn't see Dillon Gabriel. I watched his highlights. Somebody said, man, that's the same thing they said about Mike Evans when they were watching Baker Mayfield tape. They just saw it was a highlight reel for everybody else. I can't remember who said it to me, but that's what I saw when I watched Dillon Gabriel's tape. I'm like, man, it's a highlight for everybody else. So that's the person I'm supposed to say I believe in. I would be the fool. What y'all want from me. So as an individual, what you want from me is you want me to give my view. If I just take somebody else's view and I say it and it's not my view, I can't stand on it. That would be ridiculous. If I'm just up here saying, man, Dillon Gabriel, he the next Patrick Mahomes. Y'all would look at me like I was crazy. So I just got to tell you how I feel. This is off the top of my head. I haven't looked it up in a while. I believe Kevin Stefanski is 40-46 overall as a head coach. So this is in year 5, and he is under 500 at this point. Coming off of a 3-win season, a lot of coaches would have been fired. Most coaches would have been fired. They wouldn't have made it through this. So let's get to Tyvis. He's going to hit him up.
On the offensive side of the ball,
Ravens win 41-17 over these pathetic Browns. Yes, let's start on the offensive side of the football.
Okay, so my thing with this is my issue that I had this offseason with the Browns. Last year, you ranked 32nd in the NFL in offense. 32nd, which is, if people don't know, dead last in offense. All you did was, the way you felt that you was going to fix your offenses, you was going to turn play calling back over to the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
You went to go get a 40-year-old quarterback.
Who was good 2 years ago with you, though. So, that he wasn't good last year. But 2 years ago,
Flacco
he had like 6 games.
Literally exactly what I said he was going to be. He going to give you a couple of games, and he going to fall off a cliff. People be thinking like I'm being harsh. It's like Russell. It's like y'all think I'm being harsh or I don't like the guy. It's what it's been. Like since he's left Baltimore, or I'm talking about Joe, everywhere he's went, he's played a couple of good games, and then he just completely fell on his face. Like, that's just what it is. So for the Browns to go into this season believing that this man was going to be the answer for 17 games, that was strike number 1 right there. Number 2, you're at the number 2 pick in the draft. Outside of Cam Ward, you can get anybody in this draft. You trade the pick and go get a defensive player with the first-round pick. And it just, to me, it's like, what are we doing? We need to score. We couldn't get to 20 points last year. And again, this year, we yet to hit 20 points this year. Yet, like, what did you think was going to happen? Like, that makes no sense. I like the Quinshine pickup. I like the Harold Fanning pickup. But, like, the rest of it is just like the Tillman thing, I'm done. Like I don't know what more you need to see. Like, this is ridiculous. No, because this dude, you went out there and didn't decide to get no receivers because you got Judy. So your number 1 receiver on a good team is a number 2 receiver, and your number 2 receiver on a good team is a number 3 or 4 wide receiver. So you're already behind the 8 ball at the receiver position, and you didn't do anything to address it. Oh, you went and got Isaiah Bond, who didn't even do anything all spring and all these things, but whatever. So I was mad about that. And then as far as like the line goes, like, you got dudes coming in and out of the game with this whole thing is a mess, man.
You got guys on your offensive line who have announced their retirement tour, which means they're not exactly young. And then the young guys you do have are like, sorry, it's too hot. I got to go out of the game. DeJuan Jones. Like, I don't understand that. But back to your original point with what was the idea with this offense? I have never in my life seen a front office / head coaching duo in Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski who make decisions when they have done jack and bleep in the NFL as those positions They have done literally nothing. Oh, the Browns got to the playoffs. Yay. Congratulations. The NFL. It's set up for you to occasionally get to the playoffs. The fact the Browns haven't gotten to the playoffs at least once every few years is an indictment of the last 25 years. But that's another story. These two guys walk around like they have 7 years to turn this thing around. They go and make draft picks that, I'm with you, make no sense.
So I'm going to pause them there. So y'all see what I'm saying? I seem tamed when I'm talking about them. Y'all see how other people are going in on them? So it's just one of those things. I did something while I was listening to that. We got more to listen to, but I did pull something up. Jeffrey, Joe Flacco had the same numbers last year that he had on the Browns. So I saw that chat while we were listening to them, and I pulled up his numbers. Joe Flacco played 8 games last year for the Colts. He threw for 1,700 yards. He had 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He was sacked 18 times. He had a passer rating of 90 and a QBR of 50. This year, so far, through 2 games, smaller sample size, he has 489 yards. He has 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He's been sacked 4 times. His passer rating is 70. His QBR is 36. So, through 2 games, he is trending way down. And if we just extrapolate this out to 8 games, if you play 8 games, these numbers will be dramatically worse than Joe Flacco was last year. Dramatically worse. Because remember, his stuff is flip-flop. His touchdown and interceptions are flip-flop. So, after game 1, I said, what's going to happen is, after 4 weeks, after 3 weeks, nobody's going to look back and say, oh, Cedric Tillman should have caught that pass that was an interception. Nobody's going to look back and say, Jerry Jeudy should have caught that pass that was an interception. They're going to say, it's been 4 weeks, Joe Flacco has thrown 7 interceptions. That's what they're going to say. They're not going to look back and try to get into the minutia and the reasons why it happened. They're just going to say, it's not good. I was talking about 2023 when he was good for us was the same as the Colts. All right, let's look it up. So he played 5 games. He had 1,600 yards, 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He was sacked 8 times, QB rating of 90, QBR of 49. You're right. Yes, those are way, way similar stats. Those are way similar. Way similar. So you are right there. This year, he is off to some other stuff. So, but he's not getting put in position to have the answers. So, let's do this. Let's get through the rest of this clip or some more of this clip. Then I want to just check out a couple quick PFF grades. Then I got to set my stuff up. I'm going to show you all a couple times where Joe Flacco was just really confused from the All-22, where you'll see what I was talking about. So let's play this, and then while we're listening to this, I'm going to get to some more stuff. By the 3rd game, Joe Flacco should be done. I agree. What I foresee happening, and I don't see the Browns having any answers to beat what they have going on. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. You're saying that's why you say he wasn't as bad as people thought he was on the Colts. I see what you're saying there. I would agree with that. Not as bad. I would say my follow-up to that would be, could a rookie get you these numbers? Because it's nothing that's like earth-shattering. It's nothing that's like, man, you know what I'm saying? When you got 13 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, that's close. A rookie could probably get you there. When he averaged 7 yards a throw, a rookie probably could get you there. When you have 12 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, similar to what a rookie could do. So he didn't necessarily fall off a cliff. He just fell off the ledge, and his ledge was already low. So he fell off the curb. So instead of falling off the cliff, he fell off a curb. So he didn't fall that far, but he still fell. By the third game, Joe Flacco should be done. See, I don't agree when you say it depends on the rookie. I think that if a rookie looks like they can play in the NFL, I think you give them way longer leash than you give a guy that's in his 18th year. So we're going into week 3. Joe Flacco's playing this week. If they say we're changing quarterbacks, we're going to Dillon Gabriel, I think it's no way possible you only give Dillon Gabriel 3 games. Unless Dillon Gabriel throws 3 picks, no touchdowns, and can't do anything. Now, if he does that for 3 games, then you pull him. But if you get in this 18-year vet, you can have a short leash. 3 games, we've seen enough, you're not better. But a rookie, I would say you at least got to give them, unless they are just very, very bad, you at least got to get them 4 games. I don't think you could do anything for 4 games. And I think you need to even tell the rookie, hey, you got 4 games. Or if that number is 5 games, you got to tell the rookie going in, hey, don't look over your shoulder. These next at least 5 games are yours. We're going to reevaluate after 5 games. I don't think Joe Flacco needs 5 games. So that's where I think it's a rookie. You give him what you give him. At 3 games, if Joe Flacco don't start after this game, you give a rookie 5. That's only 8 games. You still got, 9 games to go? So put it up, break it up. 5-game increments. We're gonna reevaluate you after 5 weeks. So that's how I would do it. I wouldn't just go right from this rookie to this rookie. No, here go 5 games because you're doing it early enough in the year. You only have that pressure to give them less games if you do it later in the year. If you let Joe Flacco play through 10 weeks and we are 1-9, and then you want to squeeze the rookies in, yeah, you gotta give them a shorter leash. But the earlier you start, the more room you can give them. So that's how I would play it.
For what you actually need. Hell, as like you said, I like Harold Fannin. I'm wearing the Bowling Green hat today. He's one of the few bright spots on this team. What does it say about your offense that the perhaps most trustworthy pass catcher on it is a tight end who's a rookie who wears 44? Like, that's the best. That might be our best guy. Are we turning into Iowa? Like, what are we doing? Are we turning into Penn State? What are we doing?
Then on top of that, so then we flipped to the defensive side of the ball, and they were playing great. I mean, they were playing great for the first half. Even the first series of the second half, I was like, this is what I'm talking about, right? But then Denzel's going in and out with cramps. Okay, Denzel does that. Denzel comes in and out of the game. But this is the problem. We don't have depth at the corner position. And, when Martin Emerson went down, I actually was there at the practice. I actually was on Cleveland Browns Daily, and I literally said, this is a big concern because if you don't have him, I don't know what the depth behind our starting corners is. Knowing the guys, we watched this preseason. I watched Cam Mitchell give up 2 touchdowns back-to-back weeks. Mm-hmm. And I literally said, this is the guy that everybody go get. If he the starting nickel, I'm telling you right now, if I'm
Tyvus was right again there. He called that early. So this just shows you different levels of how people saw this coming and now it's playing out, and they're not surprised. They're just frustrated with people still wanting to defend the people. Let's get to some of these comments. All right, let's see. We can do what the Giants are doing. I think we could do what the Giants was doing if we only had one rookie. If we only had one rookie, we could do that. But having 2 rookies and neither one of Shedeur or Dillon is athletic as Jackson Dart, I think that's the difference. So you could easily, put in Jackson Dart on packages because he has a threat of athleticism. It's hard to do that when they're more athletic than Joe Flacco, but they're not these crazy athletes where you can really have the defense questioning run or pass. So if we had one, I think we probably could do that. But with 2 of them, I think it's hard. Joe should understand he's been on a short leash for a few years. Joe should understand that, but he is still pressing. The sub in the rookie quarterback and let him get some plays. I think overall, the way I would do it is as soon as the game is out of hand, I'm going to a rookie every game until we start starting rookies. So how this past week I was saying, hey, it's time. Just get Dillon Gabriel in. They waited to that last drive. Before the last drive, I'm saying get Dillon Gabriel in. So that's how I would get him in. So once they're in, I want them to know that you're just in. I don't want to. I think part of the problem that the Browns are creating is people feel their leash is short and they are pressing. So if it gets to the point in the third quarter, it's halfway through the third quarter, the Browns are down 28-6. I'm not leaving Joe Flacco out there. I'm going to Dillon Gabriel. I'm getting him snaps that way. I'm going to say finish the game. That's how I would do it. So that's how I would do it, but I'm looking at it a certain way. Let's get to some of these PFF grades. Let's get PFF pulled up. Where are the weekly grades at? I got to get used to using PFF site so I can get through these things quicker. By position. I just want the whole team's grade. Where the whole team grades at? Premium grades. Let's go Cleveland Browns. Yeah, I agree with you. They definitely waited too long to put Dillon Gabriel in. I don't know what they were waiting for either. Just put him out there. Let's go. Let's start offense. So what I'm going to do is, for the PFF grades, I'm going to give y'all the top 5, and I'm going to give y'all the bottom 5. Got it up there? All right, there we go. All right, so, man, oh, man. It's kind of, you could probably guess these. The bottom 5 are, for offense, is Joe Flacco with a 41, DeJuan Jones with a 47, Isaiah Bond with a 49, KT Levinson, the other tackle, with a 50, and surprisingly, David Njoku with a 53. So those are the PFF grades. Those are the lowest. Let's see who the highest are for offensive grades. Joe Flacco did get that lucky touchdown. It went through the arms of Marlon Humphrey. So he got lucky. Joe Flacco's stats could have been almost exactly the same as Deshaun Watson's stats from game 1 of last year. All right, so the highest PFF grades. Dillon Gabriel, 89.6. Joe Antonio, 69.8. Wyatt Teller, 68.8. Cornelius Lucas, who started at right tackle, 68.8. And Dylan Sampson round out the top 5. So we care more about the offense. We know how the defense did. Actually, let's look at the offense too. I mean, defense too. So did any of those surprise y'all on the highest or the lowest PFF grades? Passing grades. Nope, that's not what I want. I want overall defense. Here we go. Ooh, this is kind of shocking. So the lowest PFF grades for defense are Denzel Ward at 38.2, but remember he only played 13 snaps. Cameron Mitchell, 38.2. Diabate, 41. He's a backup linebacker. Miles Harden, 52. And defensive tackle Mason Graham, which actually had a 60, which is a positive-ish grade. Let's see who the highest were on defense. The highest. Jeffrey, hey, I got to put some respect on your name. You called this out. Why you not playing? Oh, man. Okay. I had a sound for you, but it didn't play. Highest PFF grades on defense. Malik Collins, 92.5. Devin Bush, that's the one you called out, 90.7. Myles Garrett, 89.6. Aiden Huntington, 85.3. And Grant Delpit, 80.9. So standout guys on defense. I think this is something that nobody's surprised about. Standout guys on defense, you see it, you know how they played. None of this surprises me. All of this is like, I'm not shocked by it. Let's do this. Were there any PFF grades that surprised y'all? That's the question I have. Did any of those grades surprise y'all? That's the question I have for y'all while I got to switch some stuff up real quick. here on my end. So I'll be looking at the chat. I'm going to need to bring you over here. Let's take you out. Let's put you here. And let's do this. Put you there. All right, so it looks like none of those grades surprised y'all. Let's get to the actual action on the field. Now, I'm not going to show 30 plays or anything like that. I'm just going to show y'all a couple plays. I'm going to go to the Joe Flacco interception, potential interception. So the Joe Flacco interception, the Joe Flacco touchdown. Let's go here. All right, so y'all can see it. Let's see how it looks. Let's scroll down. Okay, y'all got a good look of it. All right, can y'all see? Can y'all see actual game footage here on the screen? Let me know if y'all can see the game footage. And now I just have to find the play. Find the plays. Let me go find them for y'all real quick. Let's get all the plays up. Man, I need like some music or something playing so y'all just not sitting here in silence. Yeah, Statue Flacco is going to get killed by Micah. Flacco is going to have a rough day, and I've been alluding to that most of it based on the type of defense they run and their ability to rush the passer. And I was going through their PFF grades. They actually have somebody who graded higher on win rate, pass rush win rate than Micah Parsons. So it's not just Micah. It's not just Micah who is winning on their defense. All right, I'm going to show this play because this is a good play. And this is something that they should have went to more. All right. So let's look at this. So right now, you got everybody playing off coverage. This could potentially, it's a couple of things you would think. You would think, okay, some of these guys are going to drop out. This could be zone, or this could be zone on one side, man on one side. But let's play it out. Joe Flacco switching some stuff up, trying to get them to show their hand. It didn't work. They didn't rotate that much. So post snap, you see, they dropped out. That's zone. Everybody is looking at the quarterback. Everybody watching what Joe Flacco's doing. Everybody looking at the quarterback. That's how you know it's zone. Let's keep it going. Now, it looks like Joe Flacco handled this really well. He was holding the safeties. So this is something Joe Flacco actually did well. When he was looking to his right, that was only to hold the safeties. He knew this entire time he was throwing it to Judy on his left side. So let's let the play out. And Judy won that rep. So this is something that the Browns need to get to more. They need to get to more of, we set up our guy, our number one guy versus whoever, we're going to give you a shot. This is what the Browns need to do more of. So now it's going to get, I think it's going to give us a end zone view next. Let's go end zone view. So, man, the camera's right in the middle of that. We're going to see Joe Flacco hold the defense. He's going to hold that safety. So the safety is not able to get up top because he's going to go right to the right side of the field. This is only to move the safety. When his shoulders are turned that way, he can't throw the ball over his head like this. So the safety is watching. Let me pay attention to his shoulder because you throw the ball is going wherever that lead shoulder is. So Joe Flacco does a good job here. I'm going to pause it when Joe Flacco turns so y'all can see where he does a great job. Right here. Now, it's hard for y'all to see it, but the safety is at the middle of the field. The safety at the middle of the field, at this point, he cannot go over there to help with Jerry Jeudy because Flacco is looking this way, and by him looking this way, they know he can't throw the ball to Jerry Jeudy right now. But watch what he's going to do. I was faking y'all out. Immediately turn and go to release the ball to get it to Jerry Jeudy one-on-one. This is what you need to see more of when they're running that this could either be cover 3 zone, I believe it's cover 3 zone, and then the man who was on Jeudy, it went to a man-to-man once Jeudy went deep. Now, if Jeudy wouldn't have went deep, this probably wouldn't have went to a man-to-man one-on-one, but since he went deep, that's why I went to that. And now let's look at the play. He gets it up there. Look how far the safety is. Jeudy has already caught the ball. He's on the ground. The safety is still about 4 or 5 yards away. So that's how you attack what the Baltimore Ravens were doing. But everything worked in concert together. The offensive line gave him time. Joe Flacco held up the safety. Everything worked in concert. That's why that play worked. And they gave their guy a shot with a 50-50 ball. We need to see more of this. And this is something that they might have to I think it's their catching style. Jerry Jeudy catches with his body a lot. Tillman catches with his body. Surprisingly, our tight ends are the ones who catch with the ball with their hands. I believe Jamari Thrash catches the ball with his hands. Gage Larvadan was catching the ball with his hands. So it's just our top 2 receivers, they catch the ball with their body. So, but you see, it's ways that you can beat this. So if I'm going back and forth with somebody in the comments and I'm asking, okay, what are you supposed to do to beat it? This is how you beat it. But this is something that after a couple of plays, once you identify it, you might have to just check into this at the line of scrimmage. And that's where you got to be more creative and you got to allow your guys to be flexible enough to check into something like this and run this style of play. So that was a great play all around. Everybody was on the same page. Let's see the next play I want to play. I think what I should do is I should download these plays so I have them. Excuse me. Let's see. That was there. That's Browns back on offense. Tillman. Flacco left. Okay. This is Joe Flacco taking a sack. Okay. Now, let's look at the defense. Look at the defense. Whoops. Let me fix this on the screen. Okay, so that's better. So now looking at this defense, you see we got one guy playing off at the bottom. They're playing what looks like man up. They look like man up top. You got that safety stacked over David Njoku. I'm going to stop it right after they snap the ball. Gage should be on the roster, not on practice squad. Bond hasn't shown anything. My bot got you, but I'm going to read your comment. Let me pull it back up. Gage should be on the roster, not on the practice squad. Bond hasn't shown anything amazing. Thrash hardly gets in. Jeudy and Tillman drop rates are insane this year. All valid points. I can't argue with any of them. I think they need to get Gage back immediately because Carter is in concussion protocol and Gage can return kicks, he can return punts, and you can get him in a receiver. So I got to double check. I'm not sure if Gage cleared waivers, but hopefully they get him back. Now we're looking at this. This is where they were confusing Joe Flacco. Now, this is after they've snapped the ball. I stopped it here so you can see what changed. Oh, man, it could have been a man, but they went to – this is a variation of cover 1. This is what just crushed the Browns. And the reason why this was so difficult for the Browns to do anything is because it looks like just straight up man, and you might think 2 safeties are going to be high. Nope, we're not doing that. Then you're like, okay, this could be zone, so let me call some zone beaters. Jerry Jeudy has always had drop issues, except for 1 year he didn't have drop issues. So you're correct on that, Jeffrey. So they're going to. This is cover one. You see that one safety in the middle of the field, and you see the middle of the field is congested. This is how they went and looked at the film on what Flacco did well. Majority of his success was in the middle of the field versus Cincinnati. They said, we're going to take the middle of the field away from you. Flacco rarely had completions outside the numbers versus Cincinnati. They forced him, all your completions are going to come outside the numbers. So let's play it. Where is he to go? Tillman could have been the option. Tillman fell on the route. Looking at this, is nowhere for Joe Flacco to throw the ball. This is where I say they confused Joe Flacco, and the play call is not designed to beat cover one. So it's a combination. So and sometimes I might just be pressing like, man, Kevin Stefanski stuff not creative. This is another opportunity where if they would have recognized they were in cover one, you should have threw a go ball to Jeudy and gave him a 50-50 shot because nothing else is open on this play. When they go to cover one, one of your guys has to beat somebody. So the best option to beat a one-on-one is you got to get the ball to Jeudy first. Look for Jeudy first. Even if you went for the check down is defended here. So when I'm saying, hey, the check down isn't always there, especially when they run cover one, because this check down, he's throwing the ball backwards to a receiver, which, a running back, you don't want to do that. And then you got a guy right over top of him. So this is how they confuse Flacco. Let's play the play out. And Flacco just kind of looked around, nothing was there, confused. That's cover one. Let's see the end zone. You can see it from the end zone. This is only to show Flacco had nowhere to go, which his only option for this probably was to step up and run, and he can't do that. So he probably could have leaked out to the left, but he can't do that. Whoops. Let me find the Joe Flacco interception to show y'all. I don't want to start this thing over. Let's stop it here. Let me find the Joe Flacco interception. The problem is Judy's route was inside cutting route, and in cover one, they are taking away the outside. They want you to go inside because there's more congestion in the inside of the field on cover one. So even if you think, oh man, we probably could have got it to Jeudy, the issue with that is the underneath players could cloud your view of getting the ball straight to Jeudy. All right, let me find the Joe Flacco interception. Joe Flacco interception. I totally agree. Joe Flacco, he should be pointing to Jerry Jeudy, tell him where to go in open space. You're right. That's what he should be telling him. He should be saying, hey, but Kevin Stefanski's offense usually doesn't have that wiggle room. Kevin needs to give those guys that wiggle room to say, hey, once we identify that they are doing this, we need to be able to, on the fly, the rest of the guys in the play don't really matter. You got to go to your number one guy. So that's when Zedric was speaking on the creativity issue. The creativity is a problem because are you giving them the power to change to that? Now again, let me start here. Okay, so let's look at this again. This just straight up looks like cover one man. It looks like cover one man. You see the single high safety, everybody's lined up over him. Those are the routes they're calling. Our receivers just sit on routes instead of moving. Those are the routes they're calling. To beat cover one, you need to be calling mesh routes. You need to be making guys run across the field because in cover one, they're giving you the inside because they know they got help in the inside. So you need to make them chase all the way across the field so you can find somebody running away from defenders. If you just have them doing stick routes and stuff like that, it's nothing you can do with that. It's nothing you can do. So that's on the system. So that's where the system is failing. Because if you got to identify they're in cover one to call the cover one beater. So if you don't realize they're in cover one until the third quarter, you're never going to have a cover one beater. So I'm going to pause it post snap to see what they're in, if they're in zone or man. It's a telltale sign right there. The Baltimore Ravens defense is really good with communication. Really good with communication. You see, I can't see, I think that might be Humphrey. Humphrey is pointing to which guy he has. They bring a guy in motion. Humphrey is pointing to the middle guy. This is my guy. I got him. I got him in the middle. That's a tell sign. But what did they do? This is post-snap. David Njoku is running a pretty solid route, but you have the defender who is underneath, where if Joe Flacco tries to get this ball in there, it's gonna be cause for concern. So let's let it play. Once Joe Flacco can really see the field clear, that defender, he drops right up under David Njoku. He cuts that off. Look at your deep routes. Your deep routes, they are going right. I think that might be Jerry Jeudy. I can't tell who's the top receiver. He's running right to the safety. Nowhere to go. It's nowhere to go on this play. Nowhere to go. Flacco needed to just throw this away, let the play die. Let's let it play out. We know the outcome. Nothing's open. He forces the interception. Great play by Joe Bentonio getting back there. Joe Bentonio is the one who saved that touchdown, which is crazy. He's a lineman. So these are the issues that the Browns offense has, that they were confused. They couldn't figure out what Baltimore was doing to them. They were thrown off. They couldn't make out what they were doing in real time. We're going to see this play. Now, if you have a faster quarterback, they probably run for that first down. If that is Shedeur, he probably runs for that first down. If that is Dillon, he probably runs for that first down. That looked just like the first or second snap Shedeur had in the Rams game, where on this play, Shedeur ran and the tight end boxed out and Shedeur threw it to him. This stuff is going to look exactly the same because the defense is exactly the same. So that's how they had him confused. They had him confused. They didn't know what to do. Antonio hustling, making that tackle. Now I want to go to the interception I want to go to the touchdown that Joe Flacco had where it should have been picked off. They dropped 6 as well. Offensive line is getting beat by 4 rush. That is true. And the offensive line is getting beat because they don't know who to block. They're confusing the offensive line. Like when I sat and I went through and I watched this entire thing, I was like, how could not the entire majority of the offense be confused like that? And they were confused. They didn't know which way to go. They didn't know who to block. It was crazy. So that's why I said the tape looks way worse. Let me find this touchdown play. And I sat and I watched all these plays. All right, so I found it. I watched every offensive snap. I went through all of it. So if I'm telling y'all something about where they're messing up, it's not because I'm not sitting and watching this. I'm really watching it. This is 4th and 3. So remember, before this play, Harold Fanning caught the ball. They marked it wrong. They called it incomplete. Stefanski challenged it. They won a challenge. This is 4th and 3. So this is 4th and 3. So you got to make something happen. I'm going to pause it as soon as we go post-snap so y'all can see what coverage they're in. So, again, if you just look at this This looks like they got one safety high. This looks like cover one. I'm going to pause their post snap. Again, exactly it. You got a nickel and dime us, and you don't seem comfortable going deep. So even if we do give up something or the potential of something deep, you don't look comfortable enough to get to it. So again, Ravens, very good communication, letting him know, hey, I got the inside, you got the outside. Their DBs communicate really well. That's one thing I picked up on. So you see, he goes up, he's on Njoku. Okay, pause it here. This is cover one man. Now, if Joe Flacco does the same thing he does on that other pass to Judy, he is looking for, he should keep that shoulder, look in the direction he's looking, and then he should turn around and he should be throwing it up to Judy so he can hold that safety in the middle to give Judy room. Instead of doing that, he stays looking this way, and Judy's route is kind of funky. Everything is going to the inside. It don't make sense, but let's let it play. And it's just fluke luck right there. But this is, again, cover one. He wants to go cover one. The weakness is the middle of the field. Joe Flacco wants to get Cedric Tillman coming across the middle of the field with Marlon Humphrey guarding him, and he has to wait for them to navigate the two linebackers that are playing in front of it. So let's play it from this view. He's waiting for Tillman to beat it. I don't like the way Joe Flacco threw this pass. He looks off balance when he threw it. That's why it didn't have enough oomph on it, and that's why it potentially was going to be picked. This is the thing. He couldn't really go to him earlier. Let's look at the sideline. Look at the sideline view. Remember, cover one, in the cover one, they are taking away the middle of the field. So he can't really get to him earlier because two linebackers are going to be right beneath it. And this is not enough space or room for him to get it over them. So I'm going to pause it when Tillman gets across Humphrey's chest. When he gets across his chest, linebackers are underneath. It's a linebacker right there. Now, if Joe was anticipating it and he thought none of these DBs could drop off, but that's what he's probably thinking. I got to wait just a little bit longer because these guys can drop off, and then Tillman is going to go flat. So once he sees it, he's like, okay, I got him. But Joe Flacco's base is not good. So as Joe Flacco's waiting, he should have slid a little bit to the left and reset to get a good throw off. Joe Flacco does not get a good throw off once Tillman clears the linebackers. He clears the linebackers, and that's just a lazy throw. A lazy throw. He got lucky. He put the arm up for the touchdown. But let's see. Once we see the end zone view, you're going to see Joe Flacco. This was kind of a lazy throw. He was trying to take advantage of his arm talent instead of making a solid throw. From this angle, you're going to see the underneath what Joe Flacco's seeing. Now, right here is where we paused it before. Look what Joe Flacco's seeing. He's seeing, man, I can't, because these guys can make a play on the ball. They're watching him. They're watching the quarterback. He can throw it over the linebacker, but you got to see, it's hard to see it here. That's why I did the sideline view first. Let's go to the sideline view. In the sideline view, you're going to see there is potential for the other DBs to drop off under the ball. They're not just glued to the man. They can make a play on the ball once it goes in the air. Now, if he throws it here, these guys got eyes on him. He's thinking they can drop off under me. Because as soon as we show it from the end zone view and you see what Joe Flacco sees, that's why he waits longer. Joe Flacco can make this read, he can make this throw. Joe Flacco throws the ball poorly. When look at this throw, he didn't set or nothing. He didn't set and really throw the ball to. The issue is he didn't lead Tillman when he should have. Look how flat that pass is. He needed to lead Tillman. So he needed to slide to the left. If he would have slid to the left and led Tillman, then he can make the throw. Once he feels comfortable, because the quarterback got to feel comfortable making the throw. Once he clears the linebackers, he has to step left. Look at Joe Flacco. He's uncomfortable. His base is not set to throw the ball. That's the issue. That's why the throw was so short. His base is not set. He needed, and that was a holding they got away with right in front of it too. Crazy. He needed to slide a little left earlier and set his base and make a good throw. He should be throwing this towards the back of the touchdown. The read is not the problem. The mechanics and all of this is the problem. Look at this. Look at how he threw that. Look how he did that. That's why the throw is so short. And look who was right up underneath it. That the other receiver ended up being in that zone. If he would have threw it early, that DB could have dropped off easy pick, which this should have been picked because Joe Flacco waited so long. He was running out of space, and he also didn't set and throw the ball as deep as he should have. So I'm not saying it wasn't a throw here. I'm saying Joe Flacco's mechanics messed that play up. So that's just some of what I look at, what I'm seeing in the film room. So when I talk about the college QBs and I'm speaking on their mechanics being so bad, I'm saying, man, the mechanics are bad. Joe Flacco's mechanics were bad right there. And since his mechanics were bad, that's why that should have been an interception. And that's one of the things I'm really looking at. Like, these guys have the talent to make the throw, but they're leaning on the talent and not doing the fundamental things right to make a better throw. Joe Flacco's lucky that wasn't interception. He's lucky that wasn't interception, so he can pad his stats a little bit. So it makes it look a little bit better when you got a TD there. Yeah, but remember earlier, somebody asked me, I think it was you, Jeffrey, you asked me, was Joe Flacco, was he playing uninspired? Like he didn't want to play anymore? And I said, no. I said, he's not taking the risks that he took before because he know he has a short leash. It's an accumulation of things that are changing how people can make decisions. So in the moment, he waited a whole lot longer to throw the ball because he doesn't want to throw the interception, which when he didn't feel like he had a leash, he would have threw that ball earlier. He also messed up when he didn't set his feet. So this is an accumulation of how they've handled this. When you know if you're going to make a mistake, your leash is going to happen, what happens? Inevitably, you make the mistake. You make the mistake that you're trying to avoid because you're trying to play it safe. So that's what Joe Flacco did there. That's from him not having the time, reps in the offseason, and they're giving him the Kenny Pickett. That's from him being in the fake QB competition. That's from him feeling the pressure. I gotta play mistake-free football. Mistake-free football and taking risks don't meld. They don't gel together. Mistake-free football usually means playing it super safe. Taking risks means you're not playing it as safe. So he's stuck in a conundrum where he kind of can't even really be his own self. So besides the fact that most of that game he was confused, when the opportunity did present itself, he was hesitant. And just that little bit of him hesitating almost took a touchdown off the board and made an interception. Where he could have slid a little bit left, set, threw the ball, it would have been a touchdown. Instead, he had to hope that it wasn't an interception. So you're correct. You're correct. Jerry Jeudy and Joe Flacco don't have the same chemistry that Jerry Jeudy had with Jameis either. I totally agree with that. If you look at some of those games, especially if you look at the game versus Denver last year, Jameis was not looking for anybody but Jerry Jeudy. I think Jerry Jeudy had an insane amount of targets in that game. Let me pull it up real quick before we get up out of here. Let me pull that up real quick. Because you were right. The chemistry was at a totally different level. Let's go here. Let's go 2024. Where Jerry Jeudy at? Let's go Jerry Jeudy. I just want to see how many targets he had in that game versus Denver. Okay. Plus, Jameis is not scared to take a risk. He's going to throw the ball. Exactly. That's that conundrum. It's the conundrum of you can't really play your game because you're trying to play it safe, so you're not taking a risk, even though sometimes the risk is necessary when it's calculated. So Jerry Jeudy was targeted when they played Denver. He was targeted 13 times. He had 9 catches on 13 targets, 235 yards. Versus Kansas City, he had 11 targets. He had 14 targets, 11 catches, 108 yards. Versus Miami Dolphins, he had 18 targets, 12 catches, 94 yards. So it was totally different. Let's look at targets this year. He's at 8 targets versus Cincinnati, 8 targets versus Baltimore. So if you look at who they have on the roster, how can he have that few targets? I like Jameis in the locker room. I like Jameis' ability to take risks. I don't like how many turnovers he has. It's just not sustainable. Him throwing the ball keeps you in games. Him throwing the ball puts you out of games. It all happens in the same game. So he's just too many turnovers for me. Too many turnovers for me. Now, did he put up some numbers? Yeah, he put up some numbers, but just too many turnovers. So that's the conundrum that they've put guys in, where even you, Jeffrey, you identified that Joe Flacco he's being safe. That's why versus Cincinnati, when he was throwing so many passes low, I was like, man, he's throwing all of these passes low. Why is he throwing all these passes low? He's throwing them low because he's trying to avoid the interception. He's trying to avoid the turnover. So if you take a gunslinger and you take away their best ability, which is being a gunslinger, they just become a quarterback where anybody could replace them. And that's what they've done to Joe Flacco. So understand the turnovers, but he is great with developing receivers. He would be a better bridge than Joe. I can see that. I can't argue with that. I can't argue that he wouldn't be a better bridge. I can't argue with that at all. Also, he will be willing to teach the guys. Because they put him in a competition, Joe Flacco said, I'm not here to teach, I'm here to play. I think that's to the detriment of the young guys. Because then people say, oh, we're going to develop him. Okay, how you going to develop him? You need somebody to develop him. So the guy that's going out there in the battle, taking all the live snaps, he ain't giving them no pointers. He just saying, learn from my example. So it's a long list of things they could have done differently and not be looked at the way they're looked at right now, and they've done it to themselves. So it's just one of those things. We eclipsed the 2-hour mark. I think we broke this thing down a great level. We got to some of the media view. We got to some former players view. We looked up some PFF grades. Who had the best? Who had the worst? Offense, defense. We got to the film room. We looked at some of the situations and what the Baltimore Ravens defense was able to do. So we got to it all today. This has been a great show. Shout out to all y'all for being here. Let me get your last question in before I get up out of here, Jeffrey. And I don't see him much difference between Joe Flacco and Jameis. Neither one of them can really run. I would say Jameis probably slightly better at getting out of pressure situations. Very similar. Very similar. If you're giving them the freedom to run the offense, they both gonna have turnovers. They're both are pretty much gunslingers. So I can't disagree with you there. That's a solid point there. I agree with you there. So this has been a great show. We touch all topics Remember, Off the Record D, the is THA. Eliminate the Grade podcast, available wherever you listen to your podcast. I'll get the timestamps in tonight. So by the time, if you want to tap in tomorrow, which will be Thursday, to this video, since it is pretty long, I'll have the timestamps there. Also, I'll be live right around 12:50 for the Browns game against the Green Bay Packers. Give you my live in-game analysis, how I'm seeing things, and enjoy the rest of your week until Sunday. So I appreciate everybody for tapping in. I appreciate your insights. This has been another amazing show. I can't do it without y'all. I will see y'all in the next one. Peace.